So, welcome to day 2. We are going to talk about transforming your cycle. We're going to talk about some basic things that we didn't learn in that health education class about the baby. So, let's get started. So, think about your womb, your actual physical womb space. It is a hollow, thick-walled, pear-shaped muscular organ that sits neatly, nicely down between the bladder and the rectum on the backside. It's probably one of the strongest muscles in the female body. It's flexible, but it's also very, very, very sensitive to our lifestyle. Our womb is made up of 4 parts. So we have our fundus or fallopian tubes, which are on the top. We have the body, which is the main part. We have the cervix, which is at the bottom of the body. And then we have the vagina, which is the actual opening. We have 3 layers of tissue. So we have your outer layer, your inner, middle, thick layer, and a very thin type inner layer. The inner layer is what typically sheds when we have our period. We also have 8 ligaments. They come in 4 pairs, but these 8 ligaments hold our uterus in place. It has one that keeps it from moving up. It's a piece on the top. There's a set that keeps it from flipping around. There's a set that kind of holds the ovaries in place. There's a set that kind of keeps your arteries and veins where they're supposed to be. And then there's a set where it just provides general support. So the thing we need to know about this in particular is because, when women have a hysterectomy, and there's nothing wrong with having it, but when women have a hysterectomy, and depending on the type that they get, it shifts all of that, which can create other issues. And that's something that we generally don't talk about, but it shifts. That's all you need to remember about that at this point. There are also 4 cycles or 4 phases. So we have our actual period, we have the ovulation, we have the follicle phase, and we have the lutein phase. So this is the cycle that we go through each and every month. So overall, our ovaries support the overall reproductive health. It supports the system itself. So this is kind of where your body starts to generate these the hormones that our body uses. Estrogen is typically found in the womb, but estrogen also regulates our gut. So keep that in mind as we move forward this week. So what does a healthy cycle look like? Now, we have heard some things, but this is kind of what generally what a healthy cycle looks like. So let's start with, what is a cycle versus a period? We typically have inverted those 2 words or use one for the other in place of, but really there is a difference. The cycle is the overall monthly time, your whole full cycle. The period is actually the few little days that you're bleeding. That's it, whatever that is. Our cycle is connected to the sun and the moon and the earth. If you kind of go into that, there's the 4 phases, there's the transitions, and so there's a lot of things that connect our cycle to that, which is why women are very much connected to earth and nature and, Mother Earth. So when we are balanced, we are in harmony with nature. And being balanced is not just, having a baby, but it's also gut health, mental health, bone and heart health. This is why we need to be balanced, because there are other things. When we're balanced, yes, it's a good sign of fertility. But again, it's not just about having a baby. Think about your cycle should land between 24 and 30 days, generally with 3 to 7 days of bleeding, actual period bleeding. In that, you're in your menstrual fluid. It should be mostly liquid, no large clots. It should be bright red, light to bright red. It should have no more than 3 tablespoons over the course of the period, with minimal discomfort and PMS symptoms. Okay, let me backtrack for a second. Yes, I told you 3 tablespoons over the course of your cycle. Remember that 3 to 7 days. Now, I know a lot of people where they have 3 tablespoons over the course of one day. But yes, there is some research that says 3 tablespoons, maybe 5 at most. But I think for a lot of women, I'm not sure how accurate that is. And when did they come up with that back then? Not really sure. But just keep that in mind. If you're having more than maybe 5 at most, then that may be an issue. So what are some common problems? Common problems consist of no or irregular periods, heavy or painful periods. Those are the big ones. Typically, they are the ones that they're coming from imbalanced hormones. So it creates, vaginal problems, common illnesses, sexual problems, pregnancy issues, menopause. So there's all these different things that can contribute to the few common problems that we have. And we just have to keep in mind that, they can be fixed. They can be worked on. The other big thing that kind of comes with this is birth control. Birth control, and people wonder, can it regulate your periods? So the quick answer is no. The long answer is, it's basically suppressing your natural hormones. And then when you do have that 1 week where you bleed, it's not releasing any hormones. It's called withdrawal bleeding. And basically, it's just triggered by the medication. It's programmed for that. And so when we're programmed, we're not really regulating anything. And our body is not going through the cycle that it should. So when you come off of birth control, again, that hormonal imbalance that you had before is probably still there. Now, don't get me wrong. It has been helpful for some people. Yes, you do see some improvements, but you got to remember that you're still not balanced and it's just masking what is happening. So for today's homework, this is what I want you to do. Look at that PMS cheat sheet and download it and see, do you have any of those symptoms? Because that is kind of a telltale sign if you're having a general healthy cycle or maybe a little bit unhealthy. The other thing I want you to do is prepare to start tracking just your cycle. You need probably about 2 or 3 months. And really all you need to know is what day you started, what day you're ending, and then is there spotting, and then what kind of symptoms or things were you feeling? Were you anxious? Were you depressed? Were you, did you have tender breast? Were you cramping, back pain, like whatever it is, and just be able to write that down. Because at the end of 2 or 3 months, you'll start to see a cycle and you'll start to understand what your period is and how you need to change that. The other thing that I want you to do today is I want you to make sure you come follow me on social media and come on over so that we can continue this conversation. I hope that you have a great and amazing day, and I'll see you tomorrow.